Everybody, welcome to the community for the Earth Fire, Doris, and two solar complex fires. My name is Katie O'Hara. I am the Public Information Officer, one of the Public Information Officers for Southwest Area Team 1. We have a couple of speakers lined up this evening to cover some of our fire operations, talk about a little bit about the weather, our fire behavior, touch a little bit on our long-term strategy, and then an update from the local agency representative. So with that, we'll have an opportunity at the end to answer some questions. For the folks that are watching and joining us online, we really appreciate you joining us. We will have a team of folks that will be monitoring for questions, and be able to answer those questions in chat. And then folks in the room will have an opportunity to do some Q&A at the end. So with that, I'll bring up Rob Lucas, our operations section chief for an operational update.
Do you have a map?
Thank you. So drop that 1 second.
So I like to explain things kind of in the beginning for folks so that you understand what that is about your own terminology. And it's hard for folks to understand that. So if you were to understand that, I apologize for this difficult days. What's the matter? Does everybody understand the typing, work and stuff like that?
Fill space.
So I'll start with that. So there's several different levels of teams. Typically, it's based on the complexity of the incident. That complexity doesn't necessarily have to be fire. It can be anything from people being evacuated and stuff like that. So we are type 1 people from the Southwest. We want to keep that 1 team from the Southwest. So you got a fire play out now. Can you zoom that in all? Or is that? Okay, great. Let's start up there with fire. Zoom that in over here. Perfect. Well, that's going to be fun there. So here's the ridge fire, and currently we have the ridge fire broken into divisions. And the division is like a geographic area or a piece of ground that a group of people work on. So we have the ridge fire split into 4 divisions, right? There's a west division on this side, and there's 2 east divisions. The one on the west is Alpine, the one on the northeast corner is the red, and the one on the southeast corner is Whiskey. So this fire is ordered by the, what I call 38 Road. You guys know better on the east road of the Hungry Horse Reservoir. And then going to the middle is that Indian Creek Road. So where you see black is where we show the final containment on the fire. So, and the reason why that we work so hard on this west end of the fire is to protect Hungry Horse, obviously. So we're showing a really good containment. I want you folks to know that we feel very so comfortable with the lines that are in place that we've actually removed the hose lines and stuff. That's over the last couple of days. So no worries there. Something that might come up as a question is this red, and that's just uncontained fire line. It doesn't mean that that it's still moving or anything. We've had hundreds of people walking up and down that for a very long time. We have a little to no smoke showing, all the smokes and stuff like that, the well interior, nothing threatening the line. If it's fire were to move, which I personally noticed that it would move off to the east and out into the wilderness area and not be a threat to Hungry Horse. One of the things that we're thinking is this could move out like this and come and right back around, or we're going to contingency line prep all the way along there and all the way along there. So you would have a double protected containment lines before that fire crossed, and it would take a significant weather event, which we're not seeing in the least bit. And now we're just playing that back and forth game until we get to what's called a season-ending event. That means significant snowfall, long durations, sustained winds, and stuff like that. So we're expecting rains here in a couple of days. That's just a quick right back down into a smoldering phase, and we'll play it back and forth until we get to a season-ending event. All right, let's move on to the Doris Point fire. If our folks up there at the computer online, the focus is there. All right, so we have Doris Point fire. And I will mention that the ridge fire is a full suppression fire, meaning that it's our objective to make sure it's fully contained. The Doris Point fire is a managed fire, and it's the one that's shown the most smoke the last couple of days. We have a bunch of resources on it. We have a significant amount of infrastructure in the form of hose lines and pumps and sprinklers that are all around the infrastructure there. And that's the Lost Johnny campground, all that stuff. And all that stuff is wrapped in a tinfoil-like material called structure wrap that protects it from radiant heat. It actually looks like Christmas down there. I've been telling folks that that's what it looks like, because the previous team did the most incredible structure wrap that I've ever seen. It's impressive. This fire was showing some activity down in here yesterday. It is a non-factor. It's not, it's just heading out. And it's just burning up the ground litter. It's not crawling up trees or anything like that. So it's actually doing environmentally good. Now, if we could move down to the, what we call the Tin Soldier Complex, which is 2 fires. Follow the lake all the way down. And that's quite a drive too, I'm sure you guys know. I drove 90 miles the other day and I saw 2 trucks. It's pretty cool. Okay, yeah, if we could zoom in on the Sullivan and Bruce. There you go, maybe a little bit more. Okay, obviously over here in the southeast corner that's the Spotted Bear Ranger Station, and then all of the camps and stuff associated with that. We got the Bruce fire and the Sullivan fire. Also both fires that are in a monitor status. The Sullivan fire has not been doing much at all since we got here. It kind of burned and now it's just laying low, not seeing any smoke on her. We send a group up there every day. There's a little subdivision up to the north and east above it. I forget the name of it. It's got some sort of weird German name or something. And we have all of that plumbed. Whoops. I turned it on permanently there. All that plumbed, and it's well in hand, and that was just in case. And we're at the point now where we feel comfortable removing that. So then talking about the Bruce fire, since it was so close to the Spotted Bear, that one was a bit of an issue, and we had to do a lot of work on that. This little road down here is the 2626 road, then it goes to the 2628 road, and then it goes to, 2628 road, and then it goes up to the 838 road, also known as the West Road. I think that's what you guys call it. So we did a lot of mechanical thinning along this all the way up to Tin Creek. And the reason why we did that is to create another containment line, a buffer line, in the event that the Bruce fire wanted to move across and then go across the 838 and go across the Flathead and then get on the east side of the Flathead and then make a push south towards the Spotted Bear infrastructure. All of the Spotted Bear infrastructure is fully sprinkled, plumbed, all that stuff. And again, we're feeling confident with what we got there to the point where we've walked this for a week now. Just spread out, grid out, every person looking for even the minutest of smokes. However, there's some heat back in here, but still, we're not worried about it moving off to the west. We're more concerned about any movement to the east, which we're not seeing, and we feel like we got well in hand. So with that, I'll turn it over to the next speaker. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
I'm from the Ironwood community. My name is Stan Bruner.
Okay, that's the community I was talking about.
And evacuation lifting prior to a season ending event?
I would, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that will be the case. The only reason we're doing that is out of an abundance of caution. And in addition, all of our troops are going up and down that road, and we have a significant amount of infrastructure to remove out of there. And that's the reasoning why, and I think that discussion is going to come up later, so you're going to hear more about it. But we're starting to have that talk about what's going to be open and what's not going to be open in the foreseeable future. But before a season-ending event, it would be, you know, I would think yes.
I just am concerned because several of us up there need more than a day or two
Sure.
to button things up.
Right.
Before the season.
Before the snow comes, yeah, I get it. Yep, understood.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. Okay, so up next, I will bring up Trent Smith, our incident meteorologist, part of the National Weather Service, go over a little bit about recent impacts and the forecast, recent impacts from the rain that we've had, and then forecast for what we're expecting to see in the next coming days. So, Trent.
Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Trent Smith. I'm the incident meteorologist on the Ridge Fire Complex. Just to give you a little background, I've been a meteorologist at the Missoula Weather Office for the last 19 years. So I've been trying my best to forecast the weather up here at Hungry Horse area. So I arrived on Monday, August 21st, just a few hours before the rain started. Then that rain started because of the remnants of Hurricane Hillary coming up from the southwest, hitting the area. By Tuesday at noon, the Hungry Horse Ross site received 1.25 inches of rain. Spotted Bear received about 0.85 inches of rain during that. Things kind of cleared up Tuesday afternoon, and then all of a sudden we had that severe thunderstorm come screaming through the area. Thankfully, we didn't get as much impact as Kalispell did, because Kalispell actually got a gust of 65 miles per hour. Here, we actually had a gust of 40, and a quarter of an inch of rain in 15 minutes hit ICP. That night, more showers did actually hit the fires, all the fires. So by Wednesday morning, the whole area received 1 inch to 1.5 inches of precipitation. So quite a bit of good beneficial rain. Then we started warming up a little bit. On Friday, another round of showers came across. Very little, traced to maybe 1/100 of an inch. But the nice benefit of that is our RHs that evening all went to about 100%, even in the mountains. So it really helped with the humidity recoveries at night. Now we're under a pretty strong ridge of high pressure. We're getting hot. When I left camp today, it was 87 degrees. But we're going to continue to get a little bit warmer tomorrow and again on Tuesday. Tuesday's probably going to be our hottest, driest day. We do have a very strong cold front that's going to be pushing through Tuesday evening time frame. Probably showers, thunderstorms, moderate to heavy rain associated with that, gusty winds with that. So I'm anticipating some pretty good shower activity, and I feel like all fires will be getting some precip as that cold front moves through. After the passage of the cold front, we'll get that cold, steady rain over us all night Tuesday night through Wednesday morning. When it's all said and done, Tuesday evening to noon on Wednesday, I'm anticipating about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of precip hitting all parts of the fire once again. I'm 90% confident that the fire will at least get 1/10 of an inch, what we call a wetting rain. I'm about 50 to 70% confident we'll be in that 1/4 to 1/2 inch. So I'm feeling pretty good about that number. There is a 20% chance that we could actually get 1 inch of rain. So my models are kind of all over the place, but again, I'm feeling very confident in at least a wetting rain hitting every part of the fire come Wednesday. Then after Wednesday, we do get in another ridge of high pressure, so things will start trying to clear out for the latter part of the week. But the warming is just going to be very slow. Finally getting to kind of seasonal temperatures, because on Wednesday, we're going to see a 30-degree temperature drop from Tuesday to Wednesday. But by Friday, we should be back to seasonal, which is about the upper 70s for Hungry Horse. things should be relatively dry, maybe some light showers during the afternoon. And then we actually have another weak low disturbance anticipated for Sunday, Monday. I think we're kind of in this cycle. About every 5 days, we'll get this little system, bring a little bit of rain. I won't say a significant amount, but enough to at least keep the humidities up. So we're starting to get into what we call an active weather pattern. So that's what has been occurring on the Ridge Fire since I've arrived and what I'm anticipating for at least the next week. If you have any questions, I'll be at the back of the room after the end of this briefing. Thank you.
Thank you, Trent. And so next up is Stuart Turner, our fire behavior analyst. Are you going to use this one or do you want a mobile?
I won't be able to with this.
Hmm?
I won't be able to. So, where should I carry it?
You can carry it.
I got to carry it, carry this, all kinds of stuff. Good evening. My name is Stuart Turner. I'm the fire behavior analyst for the team. As the fire behavior analyst, what I do for the team is I predict what the fire is going to do, very much like the meteorologist does for the weather. I do that for the fire behavior. So I'm looking at where the fire is going to go, how fast it's going to get there, how big is this thing going to get. So that's my specialty. So the number one question I've been asked many, many times since that rainfall you heard from the meteorologist is, what did that rain do to the fire? So let me set the stage a little bit for you on forest fires. Forest fires move and burn through the fine dead fuels. That's the small twigs, the pine needles, the leaves. That's what supports these massive fires. It's not the big logs. It's those fine dead fuels, less than a 1/4 inch in diameter. And so when it rains, they take up that moisture very quickly and then are no longer available for the fire to burn. But they dry out quickly too. A little bit of sunshine, a little bit of heating, and then they start drying out quickly and become available again. So why doesn't the whole fire go out when it rains? Because those larger fuels, the logs, the stumps out there, the big twigs, those are holding that fire through those rain events. They're harder to extinguish. So they hold onto that fire, and then once everything starts drying out again, they ignite those fine dead fuels and start the whole process over again. So that's the stage we're in right now. Those fine dead fuels have been drying out for a while. They're becoming more available. Those larger fuels are igniting those fine dead fuels, and we're starting to see some spread again. So for the most part out there, we're just going to continue to see smoldering fire behavior on all the fires. Not a lot of movement, a little bit of smoke, but boy, you have to be right on top of them to see that smoke. You're not going to see it from town. In fact, we were up there today, and this is all you could do, just find a smoke in some of those areas. The Doris seems to be the most active and has fuels available to it, and where it's going to be moving off that southwestern point, that's where you're going to see the most movement over the next couple of days. As we dry out, those fuels become available. I think we'll see creeping on most all the fires except for the Ridge Fire, because we just don't have those larger fuels holding any heat in there to spread into the fine dead fuels. Creeping, where we're just moving slowly through the understory, and the Doris is flanking and backing up the slope right now. And that's it did what, 500 feet, I think, in the last day, maybe a couple acres. So it's moving slowly, and it will pick up a little speed with the weather coming in, but I don't anticipate any major perimeter growth on any of the fires in the next couple of days until we get that rain event. And I'll be in the back if you have any questions about the fire behavior or the spread. Thank you. Oops.
Thank you, Stuart. So up next, a little bit of a conversation on long-term strategy. So I'll invite Jason Coyle up. He's our Strategic Operations Chief with Southwest Area Team 1.
Thanks. Hey, before I point at stuff on the map and explain something super exciting but important, I wanted to talk a little bit about how we get to what my role is and what exactly some of the different factors that we're considering on this. Because one of the ways that you could characterize situation is, yeah, it's going to rain, the fire's not moving very much, it's no big deal. Unfortunately, everything we do when it comes to fires these large takes quite a bit of time to get going, and it takes quite a bit of time to bring it back off. And when stuff leaves, we may not get it back, especially with all the competition that's going on for resources over in Oregon and Washington. So when we evaluate a situation and we look at what actions we need to take, we are realistically pessimistic. So it is not necessarily what is likely to happen, but what is within the realm of probability to happen that we prepare for. Because if we don't, and we just go with what's likely, if it's, I mean, listen, weatherman, if you always believe that only prepare for what they said was 60% likely to occur, you probably have some pretty bad days with not having the right clothes or getting caught out in a snowstorm or whatever. And that's a lot of what we have to work with. But instead of having to run back to your house and get a jacket, all the stuff that we need to correct that error may take several days to get here. So we are cautious and we're pessimistic, and it's frequent at this point of fire for people to be like, what the heck, it's got to be out by now. And we usually don't get remembered for a long time unless we leave something on the ground that isn't taken care of and it gets up and moves around. The rest of it, we're just kind of annoying for a while, then y'all forget about us. But if we allow that to happen, you'll probably remember Southwest Area Team 1 for a long time. So we're working really hard to avoid that. One of the ways that we report what we're doing is there's a form we reported on, which is called the 209, but it's also one of the numbers that the media and everybody else kind of latches onto because it gives you a metric, right? It gives you a yardstick. If we were at 50% yesterday, we got to get to 100% before it's done. And then you see we're at 60% today, so all right, they're moving towards it. The first one, as Ralph talked about on the ridge fire, it's a containment fire. This one is pretty straightforward. We take all of the perimeter of the fire, and then we take the perimeter that we've controlled, and whatever percentage that controlled is of the entire perimeter. So if you drew all the way around the line, so if it's 100 miles around it, we're 75 miles of line around it, then we're 75% contained. And as that moves up, that number goes up. Now, if something happens on that uncontained part and it gets a lot bigger, so now we had 75 miles contained, but now the whole perimeter is 150 miles, the next day you'll see it go down. But that's what containment is. On a full suppression fires, where our goal is to get all the way around it, keep it as small as possible, that's how we report that information. And Ralph already pointed at that, so I'll just over here on this side where all these little H's, that just means hand line. R means road is line. But you can see up here, there's no black along the edge like there is over here. So that's the controlled line, that's the uncontrolled line. And as Ralph pointed out, we do have a primary and a secondary control feature already established because we know where that fire is. It's hard to go get. And we want to make sure that we can prevent that from going north and then back to the west. You can go to the next slide. All right, so this one's a little bit, well, it's confusing for me at least, but is the percent of completion. So when our goal isn't to get all the way around the fire, and there's lots of different reasons for that. Some could be that we just can't get enough stuff to get all the way around the fire. We find, all right, what's important for us to protect? We call those values. If they're threatened by the fire, we call them values at risk. So we look at the values at risk and we put points on a map if it's a single item like one ranch or one campground. And then if it's a bunch of communities like Heinrud, then it becomes a zone. So we protect all those homes. And basically the difference between a point and a zone is just that if the actions we take benefit everything within that particular area, then it's a zone. If we take actions and we have to choose if we're going to protect that or protect that, then they're points. So what we do is well, let's just go to the next slide and I'll explain to you on that because all these words are, one more slide. If you guys want, I'll break it all down for you, but I think this will make sense. So we're looking at tin soldiers. So these are our protection objectives. These are the different things that we need to protect. So we have the communication site, wilderness outfitter, the dam, and the spotted bear zone, just like we talked about. All those things are within that in a particular area. So that is a zone. And then commercial timber sales, Heinrich community, additional creek and Tin Creek bridges, and the Wheeler Road bridges. Now over here on this action implemented, you see these numbers, 40 is the max. So 40 is 100% of that. That means that we've done everything we need to do to prepare for it to receive fire. You'll see that Diamond R Ranch is at 30. So we've got a lot of work done. That's why we're almost done with all of that part of the problem. And then the fire threat eliminated. You can see we still have some 30s in here. So some areas that we're still not certain that we've been able to fully eliminate the fire threat from. And then this is kind of a cascading thing. If the fire got real active and moved somewhere, then it could threaten other things. But within the next 48 to 72 hours, there's only a few areas that we're worried about that it being impacted. So, it's a short duration thing, but it is a good metric for us to be able to measure progress off of. And then over here on the turn back requirements complete, that's that we get everything off the line, we get all the debris off the road, we get rid of the snags that could fall on the road that maybe were created. We make sure that water bars are put into any places we put that could create erosion and put it down in there. So once that's all done, those numbers would all be 20. And then it would be, we get up to 100%. So, you look at that map of the Doris and everything, you're like, man, what's going on here? There's no black on the map. There's no fire's edge control. That's because the work we're doing right now is to protect those communities, which part of that work is to protect it from, or prevent the fire from moving across certain features. But that is done to protect all of those values, not necessarily to contain the fire within the perimeter. There's one more slide. Excuse me. And the part of this that I just want to highlight here is 0% containment does not mean zero effort. If you've ever, maybe on these incidents or on previous fires you've been involved with, you look at that number and you're like, man, I think still at zero, it's still at zero, or it sticks at a number for a long time. So every mile of fire line that needs to be controlled, you got to scout the fire line, create the fire line, burn out the fuels or between the fire line and the main fire. But it could just be a very small area, it could be a large area. And then you have to let that cool down. And then we usually say it gets tested. So we have some hot, dry weather that creates conditions that are favorable for the fire to grow. And then if the fire doesn't grow in those conditions, then we're like, all right, good. We'll call that piece of line contained. So at that point, you'll see that number go higher. Up until then, you don't. So it is, I guess, that would be a lag indicator, right? It's not a lead indicator of what's occurring. It's a lag indicator. So it happens a little bit later, but there's everything you probably ever hoped to know about confinement and containment. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. And a reminder for folks online also, if you do have questions, you can go ahead and type them in there. We've got folks on standby ready to answer some of the questions. So up next, we'll take a little bit of a shift and have an update from our agency administrator, Rob Davies.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Davies. I'm the district ranger here at Hungry Horse on the Flathead National Forest. Thanks for coming. I noticed the topic. I'm going to talk a little bit about closure areas and when they may open back up. That's a big topic, but I want to start off by just saying we had 2 weeks of a team from California, Type 1 team. They did a fantastic job. The objective was to protect the community of Martin City, Hungry Horse, all the way up to West Glacier. They did an outstanding job, and I have to say, when Team 1 from the Southwest came in, it was one of the smoothest transitions I've ever seen. This team here in place is doing a great job of just continuing with the objective and really placing a priority on safety. I have to say, there's very few incidents within incidents, very few accidents. These firefighters are doing a great job with a little bit slower pace right now. And if our firefighters are not safe and taking care of themselves, they're not able to take care of communities and do a good job with the fire. So I just want to hats off to this team. They're doing a fantastic job. So the whole reservoir is closed, right? Everyone wants to know, when are you going to open it back up? It seems like the fires are calming down. We're making good progress. What we're looking at right now, we have 2 days. You saw the chart, 2 days of hot weather coming, and the Doris Creek fire is a concern. It sounds like it's not really active right now, but we want to make sure we get through a couple days with not seeing fire growth, and we want to make sure that rain comes. And even though the Flathead National Forest has the ability to pull up restrictions or close things down, I don't make that decision in isolation. We weigh in everything that you heard tonight about weather, fire behavior. The other thing that you don't realize is there's a lot of people and equipment out there. And it's very easy to just lift the gate, let the public in there, and suddenly we have 300 or 400 people all over the place. If we need to pull them back out, that's a lot of work. So we want to be really careful, really cautious when we open things back up. So this is my prediction. I think we're going to be this is a caveat. We get no really major fire growth the next 2 days of hot weather. We get some rain coming in. I'm feeling pretty good. If that all happens, we might be able to open up the east side of the reservoir. The fires are looking pretty good there on Ridge. I don't want to commit to that because those things have to happen, but we're going to wait to see. We're not going to announce a date or anything, but I'm hopeful we'll be able to open the east side. Now the west side, we have that Doris fire. There's a lot of unburned fuels up high. The models are showing right now it's just going to maybe grow in where it is right now. But if things like 2 or 3 weeks down the road, we get a heavy frost and all that live vegetation dies from frost and gets ignited, there's a chance wind could blow it all the way right back down. It's lined up with that Lost Johnny Point campground. So we still have hose lays in there. We still have protection of signs and that kind of thing. So we really don't want the public there on the west side right yet. So we'll probably stage openings and we'll probably do the east side first. We're also looking at potentially Doris Point boat launch. I know access on the lake is really important to a lot of people. If we feel that Doris Point fire doesn't go anywhere, we might even be able to open it up at least to the boat launch. But everything south of there, it might take a little bit longer. So that's kind of the prediction. And I don't want to say this is an absolute, but we really just need to watch the weather. And we're hopeful that the next 2 days of hot weather doesn't really cause growth. We're hopeful we get rain. As far as Heinrud, I'll be happy to talk to you after the meeting, but we are not likely to get a season-ending event. Normally that happens in October and snow, but if we get a season-slowing event where these fires really calm down, we can work with the homeowners at Heinrud and possibly let you in, but I don't want to predict when that is, but we'll work with you. But like I said, we want to be really cautious. We're not ready to have the public go in on the west side. There's equipment, there's people, and there's still potential on that Doris Point fire. So we'll just take it one day at a time. And like I said, I'm really proud of this team, really happy the work that's being done, and we're on a good path. So thank you for coming. I'll be here after the meeting if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob. So this is we'll move over to closing comments. I almost forgot. Sorry, Carl. We'll have closing comments from our incident commander, Carl Schwope.
All right, good evening. Carl Schwope, IC here with Southwest Team 1. And, you know, this incident management team business, Ralph kind of explained a little bit early on. You know, so what we do is we all have different day jobs, work for different agencies, but anytime there's a need to help with typically wildland fire, we get a call and then we come and help out where we can. And this, so when Rob called, when we got the call to come up here to follow in after California Team 4, we learned that this is a very unique situation. Most of the time, when we get called in to help manage fires, it's fires that are very aggressive, doing a lot of what we call not very nice things, tend to impact communities greatly, either through damage to watershed or just direct structure loss. And so it's not very often, it's very rare that we come into a situation like this. And as we learn more about this incident, it's kind of fascinating, really, because we meet with the forest daily, both, you know, working with Rob and represent both districts, both Spotted Bear and here at Hungry Horse on what these fires are doing, what is the plan of action, taking in the weather that you hear, the fire behavior, all these things. I think it's very unique because it's a very thoughtful process. You know, the Ridge Fire can directly impact here at Hungry Horse, so that's a full suppression fire. We're working on 100% containment. But the other three fires, they're different. And how they're burning and where they're burning, it's actually a necessary part of ecosystem processes. And this is all things that the forest knows very well. They know their land very well. And so letting these fires continue to burn in a natural state is something that is desired. But there are things out there that need protecting, and Jason talked about those and how we're working on a completion, protecting things that could be negatively impacted. But what else I think is fascinating is that it's a community, I'll say community involvement, but it's just the level of understanding that these fires are a natural process, and years like this year where it is a good time and a good time of year to let them burn. Just the understanding that the community has for that. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. So it's a very unique opportunity, a unique assignment for us. I do also want to say that I appreciate all the comments and as the firefighters are out working and meet with the community and have those conversations, everything's very positive. And I always say that when the firefighters feel that, they feel the positive support that community has, and they see little signs up that say, thank you for being here. It goes a long way when these guys are out these firefighters are out on the line, and it's the end of the day, and they come back into camp and they see a sign, and they feel that they get good public support. It makes them, it really helps the next day when you go back out and continue the same work. So we've had nothing but really positive relations. So appreciate all that, and the rest of our time here, we've probably got another week or so on this incident. So anything we can do to help you out, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. So up next, we've got time for some questions and answers. So if folks have questions for any of our speakers, now's a great time to ask. My help here, Chelsea, has a mic, and then Diane in the back there also has a microphone. So if you have a question, we ask grab one of those from those guys, and we can bring folks back up here to answer questions. So I'll do like the 7 seconds of awkward silence for the online folks as well. And I'm getting the head nod from back there. No questions from online. Okay, awesome.
Could you use the mic? That would be great, so the online community can hear your questions. So I heard you mention that the team here might be on this for another week or so. So I'm wondering, after this team pulls out, will it be turned back to our local group, or what happens next? We get a new group in? Where do we go next?
Great question. So for folks online, just in case they couldn't hear that, the question was, what happens when our team times out in about a week and a half? Who's coming in behind us, or what's coming in behind us? Carl?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So a number of things go into that factor. How much work is left? Again, we're looking at the weather, these season slowing events, season ending events kind of thing. And then you heard Jason talk too about resource availability. So all those things kind of go into play, and then whether or not it is something that the local district can what we say handle or pick back up. And right now the course looks like this is us. We can get this incident to a place, we can get the resources down to the size, get the work completed, that we will be able to turn it back to the local district at a different capacity. As you hear, we're a type 1 team, and we're definitely hoping that we don't have to have another type 1 team or type 2 team coming behind us, that we can move into maybe what we call a type 3 team, which could be handled by the local district. So that's a course we're on now. It looks like everything is on track for that.
Great question. Thanks. Any other questions? Right here. Chelsea, go.
Yeah, I just heard you say something about a type 3 team, so what's that?
Explaining it. Oh, Carl's gonna make me answer it. So team typing. So we have different levels of teams. So we start from a type 3 team, type 2 team, type 1 team. So we're considered a type 1 team. We come with a lot more people and a lot more capacity, so that the types of people that we bring in, the skill set and the background and the training that we have is the highest level. And then it incrementally gets a little bit smaller size groups, a little bit less capacity, and then down to a type 3 team. They have the same amount of training, the same skill sets, they're just in a much smaller team grouping. Sir.
I'm not sure if I got the terminology correct, but throughout this whole process, did you ever have to use jumpers from the lanes?
So the question for the online folks was, at any point during these incidents, have we had to use smoke jumpers? Ooh, we have somebody from the local that can help. I want to make sure, quick introduction too.
Good evening. My name is Andy Hunsberger. I am the local fire management officer. We did not use smoke jumpers. However, we used pretty much every type of aerial resource. We did use repellers. We've used everything from scoopers to air tankers. So we've used a wide variety, hot shot crews, but no, we did not use any smoke jumpers. There wasn't a need for them on this incident. If there would have been, we would order them. We have ordered them before, just didn't have a need on this one. But we did use a wide variety of everything.
Has there been the possibility of working on the west side road that was closed while the fires are going on, or did they have to quit working on the road?
So the question for online folks was a continued work on the West Side Road while the fires were going.
Great question. We had 2 projects going on the West Side Road. First, it was Neath Creek. We did that really early in spring. That's completely done and good. But beyond that, a little bit south of there, we call it right around Wheeler Creek, the Forest Creek slump. There was a part of that road that slumped and became very narrow and dangerous. So we got a contract in place. They started in May, June-ish. They finished it actually while these fires were going on. It's completely done. It's safe. It's passable. So that's no longer an issue. When it's safe to get the public back in there, that's no longer an issue. But like for right now, the West Side Road is closed primarily because there's still equipment and activity down by Spotted Bear on the Tin Soldier fires, and then the Doris Point fire still has potential. There's people and equipment near the Lost Johnny Point campground. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, sir. She's coming right behind you.
This might be a question for the meteorologist. Can you explain to us what is the threshold where you begin to call something a taking rain?
Okay, so the question for online folks, for the meteorologist, what is a threshold for when something is considered a wetting rain?
So a wetting rain is 1/10 of an inch of precipitation of actual rainfall, because that's the amount of rain that it typically takes to penetrate some dense forest canopy. So that's the definition for that.
Great. Any other questions? I'm doing the scan. Okay. Well, really appreciate everybody coming tonight. For the folks online, thank you for joining us. You can continue to ask questions within the video, and we will have a team standing by to answer any follow-up questions that folks may have after the presentation. For folks in the room, our presenters will be hanging out here for a little bit. We have maps in the back. There's a forecast in the back. So if you have more specific questions that you would like some time to follow up with, we'll be sticking around here. And with that, have a great rest of your evening, and thank you for joining us.